What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another video. So I want to break this down. There's a lot of moving parts going on right now regarding the infrastructure talks, the negotiations, what President Biden is doing, what progressives are doing, what Democrats and Republicans are wanting, and what eventually is going to happen for the American people. So today, this has got to be the biggest news out today, is that today President Biden came out and said, we have a deal. President Biden and the White House have agreed to a deal with this bipartisan group of senators. Now, some are already bashing this deal. Many are already saying that this is dead on arrival. However, there's no text of this bill yet. This is yet to come. We also know the deal is going to be around $1 trillion, which is much less than what Republicans, or actually much more than Republicans initially wanted, but it's much, much less than what Democrats wanted to pass to begin with. Now, as far as progressives, they want to push about $6 trillion in infrastructure. This is including social infrastructure and real infrastructure. So at this point, everyone currently at this time is saying that we didn't get what we want. But that is the basis of a negotiation. Nobody gets what they want and they just compromise on the deal. Now, as of right now, some are saying that compromising is not what we need to do as a Democrat. However, compromising is what we must do if you are a Republican. So here's what we know. To make this news even better, to make the news of us having a deal, right? Having a deal on infrastructure. Now, I'm not pushing for a infrastructure deal through a bipartisan negotiation. I'm not, against, Republicans. I'm not against Democrats. I'm trying to stay right in the middle. The hard part with this is a lot of the games and a lot of the negotiations that are happening right now are just political games. They are just political games to try to push the other party, whether it's from a Democrat's perspective or from a Republican perspective. It is just pushing the other party to their limit. Well, here's what we know. President Biden has stated that the only way a bill will pass, or specifically this infrastructure package, which is a bipartisan bill, the only way this will pass is if this is accompanied with a Democratic budget reconciliation bill as well. President Biden stated, and he's agreeing with Nancy Pelosi, the Speaker of the House, saying the bills must be passed in tandem. Now, this means President Biden has already come out and said he will veto this bill if this bill is not working alongside of a budget reconciliation bill to pass a massive infrastructure package that President Biden says the American people and the United States desperately need. President Biden came out months ago and he talked about a three-part plan. This was a three-part plan. We essentially got the first part of the plan already passed. That is the American Rescue Package. That was the $1.9 trillion stimulus package that was already passed and passed back on March 11th. However, we are still two packages away. And this is part of the Build Back Better plan. President Biden wants to pass the we passed the American Rescue Plan. Now we got to pass the American Jobs Plan, which is essentially this bipartisan bill. And then on top of that, there's going to be some parts of the American Jobs Plan included with the American Families Plan, which is the social infrastructure package, aka the stimulus package. So what we know right now is many Democrats are not happy. Many Republicans are extremely upset as well. And we even heard from Senate Minority Leader Mitch McConnell, and he had this to say, and he said, this was on the floor of the Senate, he said, and I quote, "Less than 2 hours after publicly commending our colleagues and actually endorsing the bipartisan agreement, the president took the extraordinary step to threatening to veto it. It was a tale of two press conferences." That's exactly what he had to say. And the reason he's saying this is because President Biden stated that this bipartisan bill has to pass in tandem, has to accompany a budget reconciliation bill, which is essentially why there's two tracks that Senator Schumer has been talking about. Okay, and essentially we're going on three tracks because we're still working on a voting rights bill as well. So right now, it's not about passing this budget or passing a bipartisan bill. It's about negotiating a bipartisan bill, knowing very well that this bipartisan bill will only pass if a budget reconciliation bill is coming right along with it. So again, Democrats are going to get what they want. It's just which Democrats get exactly what they want and which ones have to just pretty much take it, right? Take it as it is. Here's what we know. Many Democrats are not happy with this bill because they say that the rich are not being taxed more in this bill. And this is what President Biden wanted. He wanted the rich or the wealthy to pay their fair share. This is exactly what Bernie Sanders has been fighting for as well. Well, here's how this bill is going to be paid for. These are how it goes, according to the details that we have currently. There's going to be $100 billion net from the IRS enforcement. Okay, what you need to understand is about $40 billion in new spending, but this is net spending. Okay, or this is net that's coming from the IRS enforcement. These are going to go after the tax cheats, which essentially, and I just want to break this down, the IRS has already stated that the people that they go after the most are those that make under $50,000 per year. They're the ones that have very simple tax returns where they can pinpoint, yeah, you made a mistake right there, we're coming after you. The people that are a little bit wealthier, have a little more money, more assets, business income, as well as maybe regular income, investments, and things like that, maybe royalties as well. All these things complicate the taxes a little bit more, which makes it harder to even have an experienced agent come and audit you. So because of that, just expect more people like you and I are going to get audited at some point, and we will most likely have to pay more in taxes. So essentially, yes, people making under $400,000 per year will be paying more in taxes, but this is not essentially more in taxes. This is just they are paying what they currently owe, and the IRS is going to come after us for it. So we'll see. We also know there's about $100 billion in private partnerships, $80 billion in unemployment insurance program integrity, $65 billion for spectrum sales, $60 billion for dynamic scoring, $30 billion in toll credits, $25 billion in recouped unemployment insurance ARP supplement. That's how this breaks down at this point. However, I expect many of these things to change. But keep in mind, this bill, which essentially it's not a bill, okay? It's just a framework, okay? I don't even know why I'm calling it a bill. It's not a bill. This is not a bill. There's no bill. Lawmakers have even stated there's no text. We don't have text. We have no text, but the Biden administration is accepting this deal. But the deal is on a framework. It's not on a bill. It's not on a bill. There's nothing to be voted on. There's no bill, okay? Just keep that in mind. I want to be 100% clear. There's no bill. But this so-called bill, which we don't have yet, hasn't even been scored by the CBO. The Congressional Budget Office hasn't even seen this because it's not a bill. There's no text. There's no text. So because this isn't a bill, it can't be scored yet. Okay, we have no idea if this is really what it's going to cost. Experts predict that we will see the text of this so-called bill or this framework most likely in the next 2 to 3 weeks. Chances are we're going to see this come out the week that Congress comes back to Washington, and they're back on Capitol Hill. That's going to be July 12th. That's in what, 3 weeks? 2.5 weeks? Something like that. It's a long time. It's a long time. Long time to be sitting here waiting for a bill. But again, this is just how things are currently being dealt. And right now, some say there's so much time, they expect this bill to fall apart, this deal to fall apart. They expect progressives to push President Biden so hard that he may back out of this deal. Some are saying that right now, they expect that even though this bill could fall apart before now and when the bill actually is seen and we see details and text of it, there will most likely be changes presented after the bill is actually revealed. Because, and this is a big one, progressives say they now have some momentum. Progressives now say they have leverage. Again, keep in mind, okay, progressives are wanting universal health care, child care, elder care, pre-K, free community college, stimulus checks, an expansion of Medicare, an extension of the child tax credits, right? These are big things. These are big things, big policies, big legislation. If progressives want to win back their seats in the upcoming elections, what's the best way to do it? Provide stimulus checks to the American people that are currently suffering. Targeted stimulus checks. maybe not $2,000 per month, but maybe a stimulus check of $1,000, maybe $1,400, maybe a $2,000 stimulus check, but to the targeted individuals that are currently suffering. They're also talking about extending the child tax credit payments, and this could be a permanent thing, maybe for an additional 3 to 4 years. This is actually something that currently we didn't hear much about from Senator Joe Manchin. He's been pretty quiet as to, does he support the child tax credits? Does he support an extension of these? We didn't know. Well, today we found out. He actually said, Joe Manchin said today that he's open to the idea of a permanent child tax credit, but he wants to leave his options open and not go into negotiations with a closed mind. We're going to see. We're going to see how closed-minded Joe Manchin is regarding the child tax credits, regarding stimulus checks, the expansion of Medicare. This is something that Senator Bernie Sanders has been pushing for. He wants to see vision, dental, and hearing included. He wants to see the eligibility age drop from 65 down to 60. He wants to see things change. He says Democrats have the majority, they have the power, they need to make major changes. They need to go big, bold, and provide immediate relief. This is what is being said. Now, here's something else that was said earlier on today, and this is actually a statement from the U.S. Progressive Caucus that's actually headed by Pramila Jayapal. She said this today, and I'm not going to read the entire thing, but I'll read a good portion of it. On Twitter and on their website, this is what they had to say. For weeks, House progressives have been adamant that the White House and congressional leadership cannot abandon the deep needs in the American communities on climate action, housing, healthcare, childcare, immigration, and making billionaires and large corporations finally pay their fair share for the sake of a bipartisan compromise. A recent poll of our 95-member caucus showed overwhelming support for the House not passing a bipartisan infrastructure bill unless a larger reconciliation package containing our progressive priorities moved simultaneously. Okay? That is important. They say the stakes are too high in this moment, and progressives won't let our chance to meet the needs of passing without a fight. Okay? We thank the Speaker for her work in these negotiations and for guaranteeing that Congress will not only pass legislation to fix our roads and bridges, but provide big, bold, enacting transformational change that Democrats were elected to deliver for. That is exactly what's being said. Okay? Now, I'm pretty fired. You may know this. You may hear it in my voice. You may see it. I'm pretty fired up about this because, and again, this is something that we've been waiting to see. We've just been waiting for the report, waiting for a confirmation. Now, it's been confirmed. Not that we are going to get a fourth stimulus check, but that the fight for it is still on. The fight for bigger, bolder changes. The fight for additional relief and just possibilities for the American people that are still suffering. Okay, I told you. Okay, I told you there are many people that are still suffering. And here's another big thing. Okay, I'm just going to throw this out there because being that Pramila Jayapal and the progressives were actually talking about housing. Okay, here's another big thing that came out today, a little more important news as well. The CDC has extended the eviction moratorium. They've extended it again. I know a lot of people are going to be upset. I know a lot of people are going to be hurting because of this, especially landlords. But here's what we know. They stated that this is intended to be the final extension, that the CDC does not plan on extending this any longer. However, Democratic governors can, even Republican governors can extend it through their own states. However, most don't anticipate they will need to. This will most likely be the final extension. Some states actually have an eviction moratorium that is extended past the end of July, and that is currently what the CDC has put in place. So instead of the end of June, which is coming in 6 days, it will actually be the end of July. So we have a little over a month for the eviction moratorium extension. Currently, there are reports that roughly 3.2 million people face the possibility of evictions, and this weighed heavily, according to reports, on the administration's decision to extend the eviction protections. However, They have stated they cannot keep extending the eviction moratorium. They cannot keep extending these protections, as this prevents certain parts of the economy from eventually bouncing back. Okay? Now, the reason why I wanted to bring that up is because first off, progressives are fighting for major changes. Housing is one of those changes. Stimulus checks, or also known as survival checks, are also in that discussion. Medicare is included. Free community college. Things that are big, bold legislation that would not just provide for the American people today. This is something that the American people would remember in a year from now. And experts say that if progressives want to win back their seats in the upcoming election in 2022, the best way to do that is by providing big, bold legislation, passing it immediately, and letting the American people know, hey, this is what we passed, this is what we gave you, this is why you need to vote for us. So, I'm not saying that this is a good thing, I'm not saying that this is a bad thing. All I'm telling you is that this is what is currently being discussed. Some are saying that what we are going to go through over the next month or so, once we reach that debt ceiling, and once we see that Congress does not want to increase that ceiling, increase our debt, okay? Once we don't see that lifted, according to reports, we're going to be in a world of hurt. But again, as we get more information there, I promise I'll fill you in on all those details as well. Just wanted to leave you with this because this is actually pretty big. This actually opens the door to more possibilities for progressives to pass their progressive priorities and policies. Again, stimulus checks are heavily backed by progressives, okay? Not by Republicans. Democrats, so-so, but progressives are the ones that are pushing these. So, if you have any questions whatsoever, please ask your questions down in the comment section below. I just wanted to provide you with this update so that you understand what is currently going on and so you don't miss any of the news that is coming out. Again, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you have a wonderful rest of your Thursday afternoon and Thursday evening. If you can, do me a favor, hit that like button, consider subscribing, and I'll see you guys on the next one.